Hi, I'm Dave from Hasegawa Models, and this is my video build of this, the Hasegawa 1/72 scale F-14A Tomcat. Hi, thanks for checking out the video today. Just wanted to do a quick thank you before I get into the video itself to Sully, my mate Sully at Sully Scale Models, and there's a link to his channel below. He is giving us quite a bit of advice about the weathering that I've done on the model that you'll see in the video today. He's a talented guy. He's got some great builds on, some very unique builds on his channel. Go and check it out. He's the guy who did the chipmunk with the bird's nest in it, and he also did the Sea King with the chickens in it. Go and check it out. It's really, really, really good. So just want to thank him for his help. And yeah, this build was a bit of a trip down memory lane for me. I built a lot of these kits in the late 80s, early 90s when I was in the cadets. Loved it when I got one of these Hasegawa kits to build. They were much better than sort of the Airfix stuff that was available at the time, and the other stuff that you got around the model shops in Newcastle. So I got one of these on eBay. Decided to have a go, see if it was as enjoyable as I remember it being, and it was. So you'll see that in the video. And also, I did do a video a couple of months ago about quite a few of these Hasegawa kits that I've got in my stash. So if you're interested in looking at that, there's a link to that in the comment section as well. Like I said, thanks for checking out the video today. Thanks for checking out the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, just thank you very much for popping by. All right, thanks guys. So for this kit, I did record the first few steps, and lo and behold, accidentally deleted the footage. So what you can see here obviously is the first few steps getting the cockpit together. I did use some Edward pre-painted metal-etch for these, photo etch, sorry, for the cockpit, because I wanted to build it out of the box, but I wasn't sure how good the decals were going to be. Obviously with it being a late 80s kit. So this one I did with the Edward stuff, and as you can see I was quite happy with the results of this. So most of the stuff you can see, the seat belts, the controls, the ejection handles, all that, all included in that Edward kit. So once the cockpit was finished and got everything inside the actual crew compartment, it was just a case of putting the sort of the canopy stand on at the back, which the open canopy rests on, which is what I'm planning to do with this build. Got that on, and then switched over to getting enough weight into the nose to make sure that we didn't have a tail setter. So for this I've used some really fine lead shot, poured in as much as I could, and then I've poured in a load of PVA glue just to set it all in place. I think I got at least 20 to 25 grams in there, which is more than enough. So then basically had that ready to attach onto the front at the end there, and then I've spent a few months just touching up a few of the areas on here before moving on to the fuselage. And for this I've used the Tamiya panline accent, and I've used the dark brown one for this. Obviously putting this on the inside, because this part here will be the inside of the undercarriage once the aircraft's sealed up. So just getting a bit of colouring in there, a bit of weathering, just to get a bit of dirt in there. So this stuff's enamel based, so just touching it on once you've got a clear coat on there. Let it run through the pan lines, and then once it's dry, just get a cotton wool bud, dip it in some white spirit or some enamel thinners, and just give it a very sort of light touch against the grain. Then you'll leave the areas that you want to be weathered. Like I say, this is going to be sealed up inside the cockpit really soon. So got that done, and then it was the final steps with the cockpit, which was the sort of glass parts to go in the front. So get those dropped in, trying to ping them off with the tweezers, and then once I got that in, there was just a little bit of paint. So most of the paints that I use are the Tamiya acrylics, and this is one of the clear colours that I used on that one. So now just getting the fuselage all sealed up. Watching this footage back, I really do need to think about using something other than the Tamiya tape for this. It is expensive way of using the tape, but once we got that all sealed up and glued up, I couldn't decide whether to put the air brakes open on this or not, so I decided at the end to just go with the air brakes closed. So this final section of the rear fuselage is where the air brakes are, and for the intake section at the front, again, I actually lost the footage for this. I don't actually know what happened, but you can see these have been built off camera. So again, got that all pre-painted inside, got it all put together. Now, what I was really impressed with this kit, like I say, I built a lot of these when I was a kid. This is a 1988 tooling. I think it's the 1991 boxing, but this was tooled in 1988. So we're getting towards 40 years old, and the fit was incredible. It was really nice. The only issue with fit that I had was where the fuselage, which you can see at the top, joins onto the rear of the cockpit. And a little bit of filling here there, but the rest of this just went together straight away, clicked into place. That you could hardly see any joins at all on the air intakes at the rear there. Just needed a very, very small amount of filler. So for a kit that age, that is really, really impressive. Okay, so moving across to the engine exhausts now. You've got the choice here between open or closed exhaust nozzles. So I've gone for the open ones because it's going to be on display. So again, I'm using the Tamiya brown panel line accent on this, just to add a bit more sort of depth and texture to the inside of the engine cowlings. Obviously the two parts are going to seal together there, so not much I can do about the join in the middle, but you don't tend to see it that well, obviously, because it's buried inside the model. But this kit did come back in the day with photo etch, so you got some instrument panels, unpainted obviously, but unpainted control panels, and you had some extra deals for the canopy and things like that. So this is what you got with the kit. So I've used the exhaust sections for this, which add a bit more detail to the engine themselves. And the rest of them that you can see there, for the time, I thought were brilliant. And there was two bits on the left there which go into the canopy. And here you have the engines once you've painted them up. So putting the engines together, getting ready to put them in the model. Again, fit was absolutely fine, no problems at all. Just literally snapped into place. And again, obviously you're not going to be filling that part because that's going to be buried deep inside the model. But these went together really, really well. Okay, so the final steps with the exhaust section now. So this is the opened up exhaust that I've selected. So got the inside painted, put a little bit of glue on, not too much, of the extra thin cement from Tamiya, and then it was time to start sealing up the aircraft and get ready for paint. So the wing section I've decided to do with the slats down. That's how the rear section is looking now with the engine in place. And it was time to move on to the canopy before I could mask everything up. So this had a rather large seam line down the middle of the glass, which you can see there, which was probably, I don't know, I'm guessing that is to do with it being like an older kit. So yeah, it's not the best, but you deal with it. So it was just a case of getting a really sharp new blade and very carefully scraping off the majority of the seam line. And then I've got one of my modelling product sanding sticks, which is basically the buffer stick. So it's a very low, very high grit, and the buffer on the other side. So I did my best to get that all smoothed out. Wasn't perfect. I didn't use any polishing compound, but it's made it acceptable. And you can see there that I've got it masked up at the top of the screen there. And then it was just a case of using a bit of foam just to fill in the gaps of the undercarriage before I start painting. Some people prefer to use the actual undercarriage door and putting like a temporary hook PVA glue on or something to do it, but I prefer to do it this way just to keep everything nice and clean. I'll just use the foam, which you can just throw away at the end. So we're all ready for paint now. So to start off with, I've gone for a base primer of just flat black to get that on to start with, and then I've used an AK stencil just to add a bit of pattern to the underside, bit of patterned pre-shading on the wings and the fuselage, just to add a bit of depth and a bit of variation to the paint when I actually added on. So started off with a little bit of grey, and then worked my way around the aircraft with the stencil, and sort of marked out different areas. As you can see, it's all over the place, but that'll add a lot of depth to the final paint covering. And then moved on to the main paint base coat itself, which is a light gold grey, and started applying that obviously with my airbrush. Took my time, do thin coats, and then basically by doing the thin coats you can leave as much of that sort of variation showing through the paint as you like, or you can cover sections up. So that was just a slow process of going around, doing a couple of coats, seeing how I felt about it, and then adding as a saw fit. This paint is it's a Tamiya. Sorry, no, it's not a Tamiya paint. This is a Mr. Hobby Aquas. Cannot say that. Light gold grey, and it went down really nicely. It's another acrylic or semi-acrylic paint, but Tamiya didn't have a close enough match for me without having to mix, so I went for this one, which seemed to come out nice and come out the right colour as well. So the airbrush that I'm using is just a normal bar sharp, pretty standard airbrush, and the spray booth is one of these collapsible ones, because in my model room I don't have any space to do this, so I have to do this in the kitchen. And then once the aircraft was fully painted, as you can see here, it's time to mask off areas so that I could put in the black base colour on the spine and on the tail fin bases, with this doing the Jolly Rogers paint scheme, which you can see in the background there. Obviously you need to get that on, so got that masked off, got that painted up, and then this was the first decal I tried, thinking it's black with a white decal, and these are 40-year-old decals almost, so wanted to see how these went down, because this was going to decide whether I was going to crack on with these decals or buy new ones. But I'm happy to say that they went down really well. No ripping, they weren't coming apart, there was very little yellowing on the sheet itself, and by the time I'd used the microset and the microsol and pressed it onto position, I then took it away and gave it a clear coat to see how it would look, and had no problems with it at all. It went down really well. Really impressed. So I wanted to do this build as close to the original sort of boxed content as I could, but I noticed there was a wheel missing, so I bought a set of resin wheels from ResKit, and as you can see there, I broke one straight away. So the wheels on the finished model are actually all ResKit, bar one of the nose wheels, which you can see there. Can't believe I did that, but yeah, I broke it, never mind. So yeah, just removing the rest of the stuff from the base resin with a saw, and then started to get to work on the undercarriage parts, which I wanted to get painted up. And the process I have for modelling is I'll get everything painted on the aircraft, then I'll get the undercarriage all painted up, put it one side, and then that is the very last thing that I put into the build at the very last moment, because I'm got terrible history of breaking this stuff. So yeah, got all that sprayed up, primed up, and then I started on the decals on the aircraft itself. Again, like I say, I tested it on the tailpiece and it went down really well, so I was really happy with that. There's on the model itself, which you might notice at the end on the photographs if you can see it on the screen, there's a very small amount of silvering around the decals, which is what I was sort of concerned about, but it is minimal, it really is. So I'm fairly happy with the results. So once I got the decals down, get a flat coat on, and the reason I'm putting a flat coat on at the moment is because I was then going to use some oils, and oils tend to go down better on a matte coat, so that's what you can see going on here. And then, like I say, I've put the matte coat on the tail fins as well, and you can see there's almost no silvering on that decal at all, which made my day. So once I'd finished doing the tail fins and stuff, which I always, again, like the undercarriage, I keep to the end so I can do the weathering sort of unhindered, it was back to the main airframe itself to get it all clear coated. And if I'm honest, this is the part I hate, because I'm really concerned about getting sort of ridge lines with doing the top and then doing the bottom and having lines appearing on the coat. But if you do thin coats and like lots of thin coats, then it tends to be better. Try not to throw your model across the room when you turn it around, as you can see there. But again, if you do a lot of matte coats, you can end up with a bit of a misty residue on the decals, but a little spray, very very light spray of a gloss coat will sort that. And then it was onto the weathering. So starting off, as I always do, with Tamiya panel line accent. So I'm using dark grey on this one. Black would just be too much. It wouldn't look right. So yeah, using a dark grey Tamiya panel line accent, just working away around the aircraft, basically filling all the nooks and crannies. And then when I've literally covered the entire thing with it, all the panel lines, as opposed to a wash, just the panel lines, then I will go around and clear it all with a cotton bud. So moving on to the oils now, I'm using the two Winsor & Newton Umbers here. So basically I'm going to apply some streaks and some sort of oily stains to the aircraft. So using a bit of cardboard to use a little bit of the paint on, it takes a lot of the oil out of it and it makes it easier to work with. And as you can see here, I've put a bit onto the engine cowlings at the rear and the air brake units on the top, and I've just applied a bit of streaking and also down the side. So the process that I use, I'll show on the wings. So with the wings, obviously with the slats down, looking at some reference photos, you could get a little bit of sort of streaks on here. So a tiny little dab of the paint, a tiny little dab, we really don't need very much. And then get a second brush which has got a little bit of white spirit on it. I tend to dip it in the white spirit and then buff it dry, if you like, on a piece of towel, and then use that brush to streak as much as you want. If you want a light streak, thick streak, whatever, just work your way along. And then I then use this, which is a blending brush, and I use that to sort of fade it in, if you like, into the paintwork. And as you can see here, I've got sort of streaks on the wings, and I vary it, and so it doesn't look uniform on each side. Just mix it up and do it your heart's content. It's entirely down to the person, the individual. And then we're on to the weapons. So with this, Hasegawa Kits did not come with weapons, which I totally forgot when I bought this. So I decided I wanted to go with the 4 Phoenix missiles on the bottom and a couple of sidewinders. And because, like I say, it didn't have any missiles with it, I had to go and buy some. So this is the solution I came up with. So again, I've gone to Res Kit and I've bought some Phoenix missiles, some Sparrow missiles, and some sidewinders. And for these are really decent little bits of sort of add-ons there. And so this is the Phoenix, and you can see a lot of detail on there. Obviously you've then got to add the fins, but they are incredibly detailed and really, really easy to use. So these are detailed, but they're easy to put together. It's just the missile and 4 fins on the main part of the body, and then a base part and 4 little fins on that. So dead easy to do, just using super glue. Do this in a ventilated area, this sawn bit, because you don't want to be breathing in any of this resin dust or resin particles, or wear a face mask or whatever. So once you've got all that done, you just need to tidy up all the saw marks and get the fins attached, which you can see here. And obviously there's 4 of these to do, which are all going to go on the belly of the aircraft. And once I got those primed up with Tamiya spray primer, which I use quite a lot, it's really high quality, it was a case of getting them painted white, and I've painted them matte white on this, and then it was a gloss coat that I've added on, and we'll put the gloss coat on because the decals that came with these missiles are insane. Some of them are so small that I wasn't even going to attempt to put half of them on. I put the main ones on just to make them look legit. And obviously there's quite a few pan lines on these as well, so I just wanted to get a little bit of colour in those just to bring out the definition, because obviously the missiles wouldn't be dirty, they'd be clean, they're stored, you know. So this is the final stage of the missiles, where we've got them dialed up and sort of another clear coat put over the top, and then went to finish off the canopy. And this is the PE that you can see that's been in there. So that was painted first and then added in, so you can see all the rear view mirrors for the pilot and the one in the middle for the Rio who sat in the back. And then we were all finished.